Hello, everyone. I am going to give it a minute or so. We are at 6:30, but I want to give it a minute so other people can join. Um, in the meantime, I hope everyone is ready for the holidays because I am not. Um, but thank you for being here. Today I'm going to be talking about or I'm going to be holding another session for parents. um, all of you are welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. Again, my name is Claudia Ali. I am a parent outreach coordinator with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, or ISAC for short. I work with parents throughout the state, providing resources regarding financial aid, providing support through the college application and admissions process. I am available to work with parent groups through either schools or nonprofits, but I am also available to meet with parents one-on-one if they prefer to do so. The session for today is about preparing for when the FAFSA application is released by December 31st. So, what are the things that we can do to get ready, right? So, before I get started, I want to go over some housekeeping items. So again, this session will be saved on our YouTube page. For questions you may have today, you can use the Q&A option at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and someone from our agency will be helping me answer those questions throughout the session, and then I will try to answer as many as I can once I'm done with what I have planned for today. As an additional resource, you and your student can use the ISAC College Q&A text messaging service to register for this free service. And you can send us your first and last name to 847-243-6470. I will be sharing that number once I'm done. If you don't get your questions answered today, you have additional questions later, you can send us your questions and then we'll reply to them. Um, um, but we can also not only answer the questions that you may have, but also send important information on events or updates like what is going on right now. We can send updates through that number as well. So as always, I wanted to start by talking about ISAC and what we do. The Illinois Student Assistance Commission, or ISAC, is the college access and financial agency here in the state that administers programs like grants, scholarships, and also the loan repayment and forgiveness program. So our mission is to provide Illinois students with information and assistance to help make education beyond high school accessible and affordable. So for new families who are joining today, I just want to briefly talk a little bit about financial aid. So we have talked about this in previous sessions, but financial aid is money that a student may qualify to receive in the form of grants, scholarships, work study, or student loans, even though a lot of people don't want to consider student loans. But this is also a type of financial aid. These funds come from different sources, and they're intended to help the student pay for college, right? So all senior high school and college students need to complete the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, to apply for these programs. Or the alternative application for qualified undocumented students to apply for state financial aid only. This process is not a one-time process, but it's a process that students have to do every year. So we have been talking about FAFSA for a couple of sessions, and some of you may know the application is not available yet. So In previous years, the application has been available as early as October 1st, but because the application is getting changed, it is expected to be ready and released by December 31st. So it's just a couple of days before we get to know, the changes in the FAFSA. I want to let you know that I am also a parent of a senior high school student, and we are a little nervous as well. So for today, I will be talking about what are the things you and your student can do to prepare for when the FAFSA form is available, as well as providing kind of like an overview of the sections on the FAFSA. Um, so first, I would like to let you know that students and parents are required to have their own FSA IDs. As I mentioned previously, this is an account that will be used to access the FAFSA and sign the application electronically. And this process includes for parents who do not have a social security number. So one of the things that you can do now or during the winter break, so it's about 2 weeks, right? So is to create your FSA ID, since we have heard that it might take 1 to 3 business days to get verified. So it's important to work on that process if you haven't done so. I will share what information will be needed to create your FSA ID. It's not intended to make you go on the website right now and do it, but just to give you an insight of what's going to look like, right? So to begin, when the students and parents are ready to create an FSA ID, they can go to studentaid.gov and then select create account. Again, I just wanted to share kind of like the important sections that I thought they were important to share with you when creating an FSA ID. So the first thing I thought it was important for you to know is that you will be providing your personal identification information, right? You're going to have the opportunity to select your challenging questions and answers, and then to review the information that you enter. And one of the things that I think it's super important is to enable the two-step verification process. So I will briefly talk about each of these sections. Again, it's not all that is going to include, but I thought those 4 specific points are important. So to complete your personal identification information, you and the student, whoever is creating the FSA ID, will need their first name, middle initial if applicable, and last name the same way it is written on your social security card. So it is important to have it handy just in case. Even if it is a hyphen, if it is a hyphenated last name, it's important to put it the same way as it is on the social security card. You will also need your date of birth, your social security number. You're going to need a username, an email address and password, your mailing address, and your mobile phone number. So I want to point out that students should have a different email for creating their FSA ID and not to use the school email, because once they graduate, that email gets deactivated. So if you haven't created an email, it's a good idea to do that. And then, parents as well, you also need your own email address. So you cannot share your student's email address when creating the FSA ID. So it's important for each individual to have their own email address to do that. So regarding the challenging questions, so you will be prompted to select 4 challenging questions. These are questions and answers that can be used to retrieve your username or password if you forgot them. So make sure that they are questions to which you will not forget the answers. Once you have all that done, you will get the opportunity to review your information, right? So if there is any mistake, just make sure that you enter the correct information before moving forward. One of the other things you need to do is enabling the two-step verification. Like I mentioned, I think this is a very important step, and this is a way to protect your account even more. So whenever you sign in, FSA or the Federal Student Aid will send a verification code to your phone or your email to make sure it is you accessing your account. So make sure that you have access to your phone or email when you're enabling the two-step verification process. Also, there will be a backup code that will be provided. This is a special code that includes letters and numbers, and this lets you basically access your account if you can use it. Or you can use any of the two-step verification methods that I previously mentioned. It is important to save this backup code in a secure place in case you should need it later. So after all this done, you will get an email confirmation letting you know that the FSA ID was created successfully. I will also let you know that it can take up to 3 days to have full access to your account. That is why it is recommended to do it before the FAFSA is available. Just to mention, I recently created my own FSA ID. It's not difficult. It's a quick process. So I will encourage everyone here, if you haven't done it, to do so during this winter break. So now we know that the process to create an FSA ID for parents without a social security number who will be providing information on their students' FAFSA will become available at the same time that the FAFSA is released. We have heard that there will be additional steps as these families would have to answer some questions for their identity to get verified. So be ready for when the application is released. There is no reason to try to do it as soon as it opens. Just keep in mind that there is going to be a lot of people trying to access the application, and just to be patient. So now another way to prepare for when the FAFSA is released is to be aware of some of the main sections of on the FAFSA. Considering a dependent student. So those who have completed the application before, are going to notice the differences right away. So now remember that for the purposes of the FAFSA, a student is dependent until the age of 24. So they will need your information. But if the student is married before the age of 24, then they will be considered independent and your information will not be needed. In this case, for an independent student, if the student is married, then the spouse's information will be needed. So to begin, the student will log in into the studentaid.gov site using their FSA ID or their account. They refer both ways, FSA ID or account, but it's the same thing that was previously created. So that's why it's important to create it before. And I just want to point out that the application that senior high school students as well as college students should be completing at the beginning of next year will be the one listed as the 2024-25 FAFSA form. So just be careful when you select that form that you're completing. A lot of times students get confused with the year that is listed for that form. Once the student logs in, there will be onboarding information, which consists of a couple of pages explaining what is the FAFSA, who will be needed to complete the application, how long will it take to complete it, and what happens after the FAFSA is submitted. So all this information is included on a couple of pages right when you get in to the FAFSA. Another thing I want to mention is that if this will not be your first time completing the FAFSA, you may notice new terminology, such as contributor. So a contributor refers to anyone who's asked to provide information on the student's FAFSA. Like in this case, the student is a contributor, and the parent for a dependent student is also a contributor. In the case of an independent student, the student will be a contributor, but then the spouse will also be a contributor if applicable. So after the onboarding information pages, the student can start the FAFSA form, right? So the first thing the student will be able to notice is that the student identity information will be displayed. So basically, this information will already be in the FAFSA because it's related to the FSA ID account. So and that's why it's important to have that done. So when you log in, that information is already pre-filled. That will be the information that was submitted, like I said, when creating the FSA ID. So the next items will be to provide the student's state of residence and something very important to provide consent for the tax information to be transferred from the IRS into the FAFSA form. This is a new thing for the FAFSA. So everyone, the student and the parents should provide consent for this to happen. So if the consent is not provided, then the student might not be eligible to receive federal student aid. So it's important to provide consent as soon as is asked to do so. Then the student will begin completing what is known as the personal circumstances. This is where the student will complete like dependency questions. And this is where the student will be able to invite the parents. So this is where that's how you will get the invite to help complete in this section of the FAFSA. The student will need to enter your name, date of birth, social security number, if applicable, your email, and important here that email should match the same email that you use to create your FSA ID. Okay, make sure that those emails match. So the next section on the FAFSA is the student's demographics information, then the student's finances, the section to list the colleges or universities the student is interested in, and then the student's signature. So basically, those sections are similar to the one before. It's just the format in which you will see them listed. So after the entire section is completed and signed by the student, the other contributor, which in this case will be you, right, the parents, need to complete your section. So let's say that the student's name is Raya. The parent will receive an email that will say, help complete Raya's form. At the bottom of the email, there will be a login option where you, the parent, will be directed to the student aid login page. You will provide your username and password, which is the same thing as the FSA ID, and will be able to accept the invitation that the student sent. So once the invitation is accepted, there will be an explanation why the parents were selected to contribute to your child's FAFSA. There will be onboarding information similar to the one that the student had. And then right after, the parent will be given the option to start the FAFSA, or I should say the section of the FAFSA that you need to complete. Like the student, parent will get a chance to review their identity information that should be in there if they created their FSA ID, and provide consent for the tax information to be transferred or shared with from the IRS to the FAFSA form. So this is similar to what the students experience. The parent section consists of the parent demographics information, parent finances, and then the parent has to agree to the terms, sign, and submit the FAFSA form. So once all the sections, like the student section and the parent sections, are completed and signed, there will be a message that will say, congratulations, the FAFSA form is completed. And so at this point, the student is done with the application and will receive a confirmation email noting that there's a submission date, their estimated student aid index, or what was known as the expected family contribution, and it would also give an estimated federal Pell Grant eligibility. So students would have to wait to receive a FAFSA submission report which was previously known as a student aid report until late January. So it is important for the student to review this information included in this report. And if the student needs to make corrections, they can do so then. So let's say the student submit the FAFSA on January 2nd. The student would have to wait until the FAFSA submission report is received for the student to make any changes on the FAFSA. And like I said, that is expected to happen until late January. So this is all I have for you at this time. It is almost the end of our 30-minute session. And like always, I want to take some time to answer questions from the Q&A. Thank you for helping answer those questions, Kim. I know you're in the back end trying to answer as many questions as you can, but I will also try to look at those questions and see if there is something that needs to be answered. Again, for these new families who joined today, I want to share that I work with parents. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I am available via text messaging. And my job is to work with parents throughout the state, so I can schedule virtual or in-person meetings as needed. And for everyone who was able to join, thank you for joining. Thank you for the time and trying to find ways to support your students in this transition. I know this is a very critical time and this process might be complicated, but thank you for being here. So I'm going to take a look into the chat and see if there are other questions that need to be answered. So there is a question regarding if parents live together but are not married, do they both have to create an account? So yes, if they're living together but they're not married, they would have to create their own FSA ID. And the same thing happens if the parents are married but they file taxes separately, then they would have to have their own FSA ID. I don't think I see any other question. I want to take the time to share a few links for you to review. So these are some links that you can go over to help you prepare for when the FAFSA application is available. And just give me a few seconds here so I can share this with you. Sorry, I apologize. I'm not sure if you are able to open those links. I tried to send them as links, but I don't see it. Let me know if you're able to access them. So the website to create an FSA ID is studentaid.gov. And then you will go to the right top corner where it says create account. Okay. Okay, so let me try something else if you're not able to see those links. Okay, so there is one of the links that I tried to share earlier. Sorry, I'm also trying to read and see if I see any new question. So I'm going to try to share one by one. It's 4 different links. I just share one and I see that that is available to use. So let me try to send you another one. Sorry if I'm missing any questions. It's just very difficult to see which ones are being answered. I have 2 more links to share, so be patient with me. I'm not a tech savvy. And this will be the last one. Okay, so I share the 4 different links that I wanted to share with you, so you have like a better understanding and having something to read that will help you in the process. So I'm not sure if the question about so my partner doesn't have a cell phone or an email. How would he create an account? I believe, well, the person will need an email regardless. So I think it's important to have an email. Anyone can create an email. In regards to the cell phone, I am not sure if it is 100% required. But Kim, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Again, I also wanted to encourage everyone to use the free text messaging service. That is a great resource for you or your student. This is a service that is completely free. And you can send us your first and last name, and then you can send your questions at any time. I'm going to share that number as well. There is 2 lines, one for English and one for Spanish. I am usually the one answering the Spanish line, but there is another person who handles the English. I'm not sure why it's not going through. Thank you, Kim, for verifying the information regarding the mobile phone number or the email address. Any other question? Feel free to share with us through the Q&A. Otherwise, it's 7 p.m. I just want to give it another minute or so to see if there is any other questions. So, in regards to that question about having a college student and one that is going to be the first time completing the application, it doesn't matter who you complete first. It doesn't matter. The order will not affect eligibility. And just to note that each student should have their own FSA ID, but when it comes to the parent, only one FSA ID will work for both students. Is there a screenshot of the form you can share? If you're referring to a screenshot for the FAFSA application, we don't have that yet. Like I mentioned, the application will be available by December 31st. So unfortunately, I cannot provide that information. And then in regards to maybe creating the FSA ID, you can just go to the studentaid.gov and start creating your account there. Like I said, I did it myself a couple of weeks ago, and it's not a difficult process. Is there a timeline to complete the application? So there is no timeline. However, you want to submit the application as soon as it becomes available, because the national date for the students to notify the college whether they're going to that specific college is May 1st. So you want to make sure that you have your financial aid offer before you make your decision. Just remember, this is a new FAFSA that we're all going to experience, and we don't know how is that going to work the first weeks, right? The system is going to be, there's going to be a lot of people trying to get in. So just be patient. And this is happening not only at the state level, right? So everyone knows what is happening with the FAFSA, and so we should all be fine. Okay, so if there is no more questions, again, my name is Claudia Ali, and I am a parent outreach coordinator. Reach out if you have any other questions, if your concerns via text message. If there is a need to schedule like a phone call or an in-person meeting or virtual meeting, we can do that. But I want to, thank you again for being here, for taking the time. Happy holidays, and for those who know families who need Spanish information. So I will be providing this information in Spanish on Thursday at the same time, 6:30. So feel free to share with people you might think need this information. Thank you so much, and have a good night, you all.